Hey, this is Lindsay coming with you with Scarlett. With GRITNESS today, we're going to be talking about the pro path. Scarlett is a former UCI standout and superstar. So Scarlett, tell us who you're playing for currently.
Yeah, I'm playing for Club America, the women's team, obviously, and they're located in Mexico City in the Liga MX.
Awesome. How's that been going so far?
It's been going really well. There's not much I can complain about. I'm getting a lot of minutes. I'm starting every game. So yeah, it's awesome. And I'm getting to know my culture as well a little more by being here in Mexico City. So that's always great.
Awesome. Yeah, I know that you speak Spanish, so I imagine that has made things easier for you.
Yeah.
Is there anybody who doesn't speak Spanish?
Yes. Well, my roommate doesn't really speak any Spanish. Her mom is from Iowa and then her dad is from like Guadalajara or something like that. But I guess they didn't really speak Spanish to her. So she's struggling. Yeah.
So you're helping her out. You're taking her under your wing, hopefully.
Yeah. And then there's also a girl named Sarah from Chicago Red Stars. She's getting loaned here. She doesn't really speak Spanish. And then a new girl from Iceland as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Do you think that there's any difficulty beyond just the language barrier for those players?
I think the language barrier is a big part of it. Because you can't communicate a lot with your teammates. You can't create like bonds as easy. I think that also being in a different country, Mexico is like completely different to the United States or like any other European country. So I think that is also very difficult. I don't know, because I'm so accustomed to being here in Mexico. Mm-hmm. Like we used to vacation here a lot regularly. My grandparents are from here, so I don't really know how difficult it is for people that aren't accustomed to that, you know?
Yeah, different kind of shock effect, I'm sure. So let's rewind this kind of process and talk about what your journey was like to get to the pro path. So take us through. I imagine you did club. I'd be interested to hear your perspective on high school, as that's like a super hot topic. And then college, and then specifically going through the process of, deciding, because pro is it's not just one avenue. There's many different kinds of channels to playing professionally. So kind of take us through your journey as a player.
Okay. Where do I start?
With the youth game, because there's going to be this will be broadcast to youth players, high school players, college players, to everybody. So it's like, if I'm a 10-year-old girl and I'm watching this, I want to know, what did you do? How did you get to be there?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I actually started playing I feel like older than everyone else that starts playing. I think I started at like 9 years old. Okay. So then my parents put me in a like not that competitive team, and then I just continued I was really bad. I was a center back too. I would score like auto goals and stuff, but like
I didn't expect that. I wasn't ready for it. We have no script, you guys, so that shocked me for a moment.
I'm just being honest, but yeah.
Lord.
Oh, sorry. This is my roommate. She's passing by.
Okay, so you were really bad.
Yeah, and then I switched to another team called Rangers, and I met a really cool coach. He loved me. He loved my family too. So like he was more like another dad figure to me. Okay. I think which is really important. Yeah. And then I got moved positions, and then I kind of started like creating this like more personality within me while playing soccer offensively. And then I moved to Rebels, which is like I've always been in clubs not that well known in a way, like kind of underdogs. Yeah. Then we did like really good there. I think we went to Far West Regionals, and then in National League, and I was top goal scorer there. And that's when I started getting seen by college coaches. Okay. And I was like, whoa, because before that, I didn't even know that like going to college for free was like possible until like that happened. And then I started getting phone calls from coaches and stuff. And it was just like a whole new like ball game kind of like I was like, oh shoot, like I can like keep playing soccer, you know what I mean? And then so then I was weighing my options about where to go. I chose UC Irvine because I like the coaches and the school's really good too as well. And so then playing UC Irvine, I didn't really have professionalism in mind. I was kind of like, oh, like my first 2 years, I was like, oh, okay, like this is, you know, I'm in college, I'm like getting my education paid for. And then I think it was my junior year where I was like, okay, I want to make soccer my career. I think I can. I think I have that ability to. So then I started talking to Scott about that, the head coach at UCI. And then I was just like, I just had this determinism, like I have to, like, I think I can, I'm going to do it. And then my last year, I did everything that I wanted to do. I had goals set before I went into my last season at UC Irvine, which was be offensive player of the year, go to the NCAA tournament, win the Big West Conference, the tournament as well, which all happened, which I was super happy with. And then obviously talking to you, because the coaches wanted me to stay another year, but I was like, no, I don't think like, as well, like when I talked to you too, like it made me realize like that will just like set me back a year. You know what I mean? It's not like I was ready then and I knew I was ready. So I decided to like, you know what, I'm gonna go into the draft and then figure out what happens from there. And then the draft was a big disappointment.
It didn't go as planned. And just to preface, my role for Gritness is not to steer a player in any one particular direction, but just to help them see what direction that they want to go and take things into consideration that they might not be thinking of. You know, for you were a special case because you had already aspirations of playing for your country's national team, which is different from an American. You know, if we're trying to make the US national team, then perhaps the NWSL is the best pathway for that. But in your case, in trying to make the Mexican national team, the best way to put you in front of the coaches, after talking to Marlene Sandoval, who played for the Mexican national team, really was to have you in Mexico and readily available so that their coaching staff could see you on a regular basis. So your pathway was definitely different from what a girl here in the US wanting to play for the US team would have been.
Yeah, I remember even before seeing what happened in the draft, I remember talking to you and Marlene, and they said even if you were to get drafted, I think like going into the Mexican League was probably the best choice for me, and pursuing that Mexican national team like goal. So yeah, and I think everything happens for a reason. There's a reason why I didn't get drafted, and maybe I would have maybe made a bad choice and like go there or something and like not get as much playing time or like yeah. So I'm really happy for the choice I made to come here. I mean, I had different options of in which teams to go because of Marlene and her husband as well. Like they helped me with the whole Chivas thing, and then that creates a little more like edge, more competitiveness. So I think that yeah, I'm just really happy I made the decision to come here to America. It's been awesome.
Well, and as of last night, you are a hat tricker. I saw that. I saw that on social media. You know, what's funny is, excuse me, every time that you play, somebody tags me on something. And it's like, oh, your girl's crushing it. Your girl's killing it. And I'm like, she's just doing her, man. Like, she's just doing her, you know? I'm super happy for you. So proud of you. I know that this was like, it was like a good, what, 6-7 days of like us nonstop stressing over the best potential options and like, oh gosh, now this came up and like, how is this going to weigh in? And it was crazy. But I do think that it all worked out the way that it was supposed to. You really are crushing it and killing it. For the young girls who, if we back up and we go through your journey as a youth player and a collegiate player, it still is like one where you're not saying like, oh, and I was, I played since I was 3 and I woke up when I was 7 and like it was my dream. Like this is the dream that some kids have from really little, and they start thinking, and so do some of the parents, oh my gosh, if my kid's not on the top ECNL team, they're never going to get into college. They're not going to get any offers. They're never going to amount to anything. And so they do this navigating of the system that's just so detrimental to, their development as a player. And honestly, I think sometimes their progression as, personal development, and they start jumping from this team to that team. What made you so confident that you were in the right place as an underdog at a smaller club?
Yeah. Well, my parents didn't really know much about soccer when they put me in clubs. They were just kind of like, oh, we're going to put you in the most competitive team, like around us. There wasn't any, it was just Surf or Albion, but like, it was just like, they didn't really want to put me there. It was too expensive as well and too far of a drive. But it's just more, it's not about the team name that you're playing for. I think it's more like how you set yourself apart every game. Just striving to be the best player every game, like every tournament. And I think that sets you apart. And then just helping your team like win, like even if they're underdogs, like win those top like club team, like, you know what I mean? Like beat those top club teams at tournaments and stuff. I think that's what makes the big difference. And then college coaches go, whoa, you know what I mean? Like have talent, like it doesn't matter what team you're coming from, you know what I mean?
And how did you go from being the worst to essentially one of the best? Like, how did that, because I use Kobe Bryant all the time within my program as like such this role model, right? He was 10 years old and he sucked. He was the worst player in the league. He didn't score a single basket. People never believe this because they go like, no, Kobe was born, this genius. Superstar was born this genius. It probably really stuns and shocks people to know that some of the greatest players in history were also some of the worst in their youth. And so we sit there going, what did they do? Is there a formula for success? How does this happen? So how did you go from being the worst to the best?
I think it was just the determination and the love for the game. I think that's what drove me to like be better every practice, every game.
Did you do extra work? Like, did you work with somebody specific? Because there's certain people in the industry who promote themselves as the only people to be able to take people to the next level. And I think that that's one, untrue. But 2, there's many great coaches who maybe haven't played at that level, but can share their expertise. Was there somebody who helped you along in the journey, or were you just like, that I'm going to do this by myself?
I had really good coaches like in my club teams growing up. I think.
How did you know that they were good? How did you know that they were good?
Good question. Well, my first coach, he was just like a really awesome guy. He just like cared about me as a person and as a player. And I felt that like he believed in me, wanted me to get better. So then that made me want to get better. My second coach, my Rebels coach, he was awesome. He was like super smart about soccer. He was kind of like another Pep Guardiola, something like that. Or whatever. And he was just he added, I already had kind of the athleticism and like being able to score goals, but he added the technical part of like my game. So I think it was just like figuring out what I needed to work on and then finding a coach that would help me work on that. You know what I mean? Because there's always like room to grow. There's some weaknesses like every player has, and then some strengths. So yeah, I think that my coaches helped me kind of build on those weaknesses a lot.
Were you recruited by other clubs throughout the time that you were playing?
No, I was not.
The landscape, I think, has changed a lot in that when I was a player, there was no ECNL. And then when you're a player, it's kind of, really taking form. And now there's so many freaking teams and there's so many players that it seems to me like players and parents fall into this trap of, I'm not getting what I want. I'm not getting what I need. We're not the superstars. We're going to then go look for a team where we can be that. And then when it doesn't happen there, we're going to go look here and see if we can be that here and then here. And by the time that they've done that show and dance, they're now juniors and seniors hitting me up going, hey, can I get help finding a college? And it's like, but your progression has been so inconsistent. You haven't had time to tactically develop. You haven't had time to technically develop because you're adjusting to 5 or 6 different clubs in the last 5 years. I mean, there has to be a level of consistency where you find somebody like you're talking about who's invested in you as a person, has your best interest at heart, and then you heed their advice. I think that's the part that most players and parents are not connecting all of the time. They get the advice and it's like, well, I didn't like what you had to say, so I'm out of here. You know what I mean? It's like, it's hard as a coach to be entrenched in that, because you have that player's best interest in mind. You want them to understand why they need to slow down before they can speed up, but everybody wants fast, 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 now. So that makes my job really difficult. With you, it was easy because 1, you're mature, but you already had goals, assembled for yourself. I didn't have to say like, well, let's create a list of goals. You already had those goals. You just needed to figure out which goal was going to be the most direct to your ultimate goal. And that's what made the process, so easy, in having Gritness kind of walk along your journey with you and get you to where you're at now. And, we're just a small piece of like this big journey that you've had, but happy to have been along for the ride, and so awesome to see you crushing it like I knew you would. I knew you would. What's the most difficult thing about being a pro player?
The most difficult thing.
Was it the adjustment initially from here to there? I mean, there's been some challenges. It all happened rather quickly.
Yeah. Actually, when I first, I was freaking out when I first got here because I was like, I did not have enough time to like work on my fitness. I was like, what if I'm like so gassed and the altitude is like insane here? So I was like so stressed. And then when I first got my first practice, it was like mind blowing. I was like, oh my God, this is so fast. Like, it was like 1, 2, like it was all like, and I kind of had like I was just overwhelmed the first practice. And then my roommate got COVID. So then I got isolated for like 5 days. I couldn't go to practice. And then that was the time like that, like New Year's was happening. And I was just so sad about not being at home. Like, it was just like hard, And then it was like, it's a different country. Like, you don't really know people here. Like when you first get here, it was really hard. But I think now that I've moved into my apartment, I've gotten to know the girls like really well. It's just like way better. They've helped with the transition from like being like in another country altogether, like way easier. So yeah. And then other than that, I'm still doing school, obviously, because I still have 2 quarters left. So that's also been kind of difficult with the whole pro schedule because it's a lot. So I don't really have a lot of free time.
Well, I appreciate that you're using your free time with me. So how many hours are you putting in right now? Just soccer?
Just soccer.
Just soccer.
From like 10:30 to like 4 o'clock every day. That's just soccer. Sometimes if I have interviews after, it's like a little longer. And then that's like not including traveling all the time, and then games. So it's basically, I don't know, it's a lot.
Sounds to me like if you averaged in just the soccer component, which we're talking about like direct physical practice and everything, that's like roughly 6 hours. Plus you tack on the interviews, traveling, probably pregame, postgame, pre-practice, post-practice, it's probably absorbing about 7 or 8 hours of your day on a regular basis. Yeah, so that's a lot. I think people have this dream to play and they don't take into consideration all the amount of hours that you have to do leading up to the professional realm. And then, like your journey, it doesn't go exactly how you envisioned it would. Here we thought that you were going to be drafted in the NWSL, and that didn't go as planned. How were you able to stay mentally focused on continuing the pro path, even though you didn't get what you initially thought you were going to, or that you even wanted? How were you able to stay focused?
It kind of hurt my ego a little bit, not gonna lie. I was kind of like, whoa. But I chose not to take it personal in a way. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna show these people like what they like missed out on over here in this league. So I think that's what drove me the most. And I'm like, I'm gonna do my best in this other team and like just show everyone like, what did you do? You know what I mean? So
and you are. How did GRITNESS specifically help you in your journey?
Yeah, so GRITNESS helped me by, obviously you helped me by giving me mentorship when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, what path I wanted to take into my professional career first. You helped me a lot. You were like, you want to go into the best team you can go into, which was, I think, was like one of the biggest, best decisions I made. Like Club America was like a really good team. And obviously, like you brought in Marlene, who also helps me like navigate the Mexico a little better, the Mexican league, and then what goals or like in what ways to pursue the Mexican national team as well. So that helped me a lot. And then I mean, you're still helping me a lot with some like the support and like it's always appreciated. And yeah, I mean, you were awesome. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. It has been a true honor to be a part of your journey. Is there anything that you want to leave on our youth before we end the wonderful interview? What words of wisdom can you give our young players of today?
I guess I'd be like, don't be afraid to be the underdog. Take it as a challenge. When people reject you or they don't choose you like for teams or like some colleges, or even like if you go pro and some teams don't choose to draft you, I think take that as a challenge instead of like letting it get to you, because I think that would be one of the biggest ways in which you can like succeed, if you take those challenges and make them into a good thing instead of a bad thing.
Love that. And that's such a huge component to what we do in GRITNESS, is taking all of the adversities and making them triumphs. A lot of what I coach the kids on or mentor the kids on is, every obstacle has an opportunity. Could be an opportunity to grow. It could be the opportunity to be patient. Could be the opportunity to shove it back in someone's face later on. It could be that that's how you have to approach it in order for it to work well for you. So thank you a bunch for being on with us today. I'm sure we'll be following up with you once you make the national team.
Hopefully.
Yeah, totally. Thanks, Scar.
Yeah, of course.